The sound of the Apple IIc. That's something that'll bring you right back to childhood. Welcome to Ike's Vintage Tech. Today I have the beginning of my nostalgia. This was the first type of computer I started working on in elementary school. At the time, the Apple IIe, but this is the Apple IIc. It's essentially the same thing in a smaller box. And now I've got a newer box. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I know you have a lot of choices in vintage tech YouTube channels, and I'm glad you stopped by. Consider subscribing. And speaking of choices, here's a choice. Do I take this beautiful case, the keyboard I restored, all the work I put into it, and just gut it for something new? No, I can't do that. This, I put a lot of time into. I restored everything to as clean and new as I could get it. This thing's working in great shape, so I'm not going to touch this. Instead, I've got parts, spare parts, and painted parts. All the parts you need to build an Apple IIc are sitting right here. There's really not much to it. You need a power supply, a floppy drive, and the main board. There's pretty much nothing else in there. There's a speaker and there's some screws. You do need the screws. So I am going to have to get those. I'm going to cannibalize a few off of here just to move them into this, but we'll make it work. Luckily for me, years ago I was working as a part-time tech at an Apple authorized repair center, and somebody brought in a whole bunch of Apple parts that were sitting in his garage for who knows how many years, and one of those parts was a brand new, unopened Apple IIc logic board. Now, of course, I wasn't about to throw it out or recycle it. I wasn't exactly collecting any vintage tech at that time, but I knew this had to be saved. This is a piece of history. It is in mint condition, and I eventually started looking for a really bad shape IIc that I could throw this into, one that most likely had a bad logic board. Therefore, it would be an easy, cheap fix. When I got this one, it was in really bad shape. The keys looked like they came out of a coal mine. The inside was filthy, and the thing had very bad video problems, all of which were easily remedied. I replaced the RAM on the logic board, I cleaned the keyboard thoroughly, and got the thing looking great. I didn't have to retrobrite it, it cleaned right up, and now I don't want to touch it. I think it's great. I took the logic board back out, and I put it back in the ESD bag because this was being made. Once I decided I was going to join the Kickstarter, I went ahead and ordered the MacEffects black Apple IIc case. And why the black? Why not the clear? I just like black. It's a great color for these old machines. If you think back to the old Bell & Howell Apple IIs, that was something that kind of looked nice. It was not beige. Black computers back then, there weren't many of them. So it was nice to get a brand new black case with a mechanical keyboard. This was not the mechanical keyboard on this one, unfortunately. It was the original Apple IIc keyboard. That's how old this thing is. This thing is from '84 when I look at the actual date on some of the chips in here. This board, in comparison, has date stamps of '87 on a lot of the chips. So this is a much newer board. It is the latest revision as far as firmware revisions go for the Apple IIc. And with that, this has the ability to actually boot off of a serial connection, something that this one can't do without a boot disk. Now let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed here. Okay, pulling this out of the box, the only complaint I have is that there are little bits of styrofoam. Very, very minor complaint. The styrofoam did its job, protected the case, made it through UPS. Looks like we got some instructions here and some hardware along with some foot pads and the actual Apple IIc backplate sticker. Here we go. Let's get this out of the plastic here. I am opening this for the first time with you guys. First impressions, it's a very solid case. This does not click into place apparently, but it might change once I get it all put together. And the texture of the handle is the same as the case. There's no rubberized texture on the handle. Not sure that's a big deal. It is kind of nice to have. I don't know if that's going to cause it to slide at all. We will see. And I will be saving this box, if for anything, It's a safe place to store this thing, or this one if I'm not using one or the other. Set that there for now. Let's clean up all the little styrofoam bits and pieces that made their way around. And it starts the directions of how you disassemble your old one. We can skip those, obviously. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing open. There are no screws holding anything together. It comes without screws. No hardware at all. Let's see if the drop method works on this one. It doesn't appear so, or at least I didn't do it right. But it is coming apart here a little bit. There we go. Wasn't too difficult. Came apart nicely. The keyboard. The keyboard is just perfect. It is very clicky. Good travel as far as I'm concerned. I like it. I think the keyboard is going to be great. Took just a little conjiggering to get the logic board lined up, but once it slips in, it is pretty much good to go. The one thing I wish I had was the RAM expansion board for this thing. At the moment, it's just got the 128K. That's fine. It'll work for pretty much everything I use it for. But it would be nice to have the extra 1 meg of RAM, I believe. Put your little washers right there. Those are little grounding pads so that when you put the floppy drive in, it stays grounded to the motherboard, logic board. Make sure that your volume control knob is accessible through the side. You do want to be able to reach that. I did forget to pick up screws before doing this, so this is just going to be a brief assembly, put it together, and make sure everything works good. It's going to click together. I'm not going to be lugging this thing anywhere. I'm not going to be carrying it by the handle. So this is fine for now. I will get the hardware and put it in afterwards. And here you have your floppy drive. That is next. Now there are 3D printable files for the faceplate, because obviously the faceplate is going to also be beige, and I didn't have good luck printing them out. I tried 3 different prints, 2 different machines, and I just didn't like how it came out. Now, it might need some tweaking. I'm not a 3D CAD expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. I prefer the help from others that are much more skilled at it than I am. So I didn't have any luck with that, but one thing I do know how to do is spray paint. I have done restores on motorcycles, and I've had to paint plastics on a lot of the older side covers. I've done a tractor restore. I like fixing things, obviously, and I do have some experience in painting plastics. So I was able to get the plastic painted very nice, 2 coats, no running, no drips. A slight high spot I'm not proud of, but it's going to be hidden. And it came out pretty good. So we're going to want to get this into its place, just like that. Then you want to slide in your power supply. There's just ever so much clearance for this thing. It just barely slides past the large capacitor right here. Let's see if I can show that on the camera. That capacitor right there just barely allows this power supply to fit. All right, next step would be the speaker. I forgot the speaker. You can hook up an external. I am going to pick up a speaker for this thing and actually get it installed. Alrighty, it actually looks like you do not use the original cable here at all. It appears that you plug in the keyboard right to the floppy drive controller, and then you plug in the second cable right there, I would assume, and I believe we are going to have to make some clean bends here. Alrighty, it looks like I was able to route it straight across the floppy drive. I did a nice clean fold underneath the keyboard here, and I think if I wanted to make it a little bit more permanent, I might put some Kapton tape across here. I think it's fine for now. Let's go ahead and get this back together. Now the fun part is this back panel. These tend to be a little stubborn as you're trying to get them back together. I'm sure if you've done a dozen of these, everything gets easy over time. All right, I got it all put back together. I had a little bit of trouble on the back plate here, but once I got it figured out, it went together pretty easy. I did have to step away for a little bit. My kid woke up and I had to be a dad again, so I had to step away from the camera. So now I got my coffee, I got this thing back together, and there's just a few more final steps. Rubber feet, the little Apple logo emblem, and the sticker on the bottom. That's about it, and this thing will be done, aside from the screws and speaker I forgot. Those are all minor things. The real thing that makes this a standout upgrade for any 2C is the keyboard. RGB, programmable to some extent. I still have to read the directions there, but I haven't really played with it much. And it's just so satisfying to type on. It is a really nice mechanical keyboard. I may just type on this thing on the regular. If I ever start making scripts for this channel, I'll type it on this because it feels nice. So let's see what comes in my little sandwich baggie here. Couple little metal screw backing supports. A nice little sticker here for the bottom that would match the original on this one. I'm not sure if it's any different. I'll have to check that out. The one thing I did notice that I'm not a huge fan of is that just flips down real easy. Now maybe that'll tighten up once I get the screws in there, but I don't know, even when I'm holding it nice and tight, I don't feel any tension on this, so it doesn't really sit in any particular place. When it's down, you feel it click, and it actually stays there. But as far as staying in the closed position, I don't feel it. But we'll see. So let's get this flipped upside down. First things first, let's get this sticker plate on here. It does feel like a high quality vinyl sticker. And let's take a peek at the orientation this one is in. So yes, it would be facing this direction. If you have an OCD, I feel sorry for you because it does not fill up the exact square, but if you're careful about it, you can get it in there nice and clean, like that. You have a little Apple logo there, printed on 3M material. Here is some black rubber feet. They fit perfectly, actually, so that is nice. So that's something that this has that this one doesn't, because this only has 2 rubber feet left. Have to find out if those were custom ordered or if these are an actual size you can order, and if they fit the old one, because that would be nice to just have. Let's see here. The Apple is the exact same size as the original, so that would be real interesting just to see if you needed to order a new one for your existing. If they have extra of these, that'd be real nice. Contact MacEffects and just get another one of these stickers. There does appear to be a little bit of a film over it. Let's peel that off. There we go. A lot of static in this house right now, so I should probably be wearing ground straps whenever I work on anything, just because it is the middle of winter and judging by my hands, it's very dry. I have this nice Apple IIc to VGA adapter. I'll put the link below. It's from A2Heaven.com. They are rarely in stock. I got very lucky and was able to see it pop up that it was in stock, and I ordered it immediately. Now let's feel if this falls as easy. So that has a little bit of give to it right there. So that one doesn't quite fall out. It does lock in place there. Now just feeling it, there is no give when I do that, but it doesn't fall out on its own. So that is the original one though, so who knows. Now when I tested this earlier, this logic board has been in a anti-static bag for almost 40 years, probably 36, 37 years, give or take, based on the date stamps on the memory and whatnot. And when I plugged in the VGA adapter, it did not work. It was no video at all. I wiggled it, I started seeing a little bit, and I sprayed some deoxit into the pins, and then it started working. So if you have never used that connector and you've always used the RCA jack, instead the composite video jack, you might want to get some deoxit and just spray it inside the actual pinout, because if they've never ever been touched, they might be corroded. Just a little PSA there. This is an original Apple IIc power brick. I do not have a modern one. Probably should get one now that I have two of these things. I didn't plan on using them both at the same time, but it might be interesting seeing if I can get them to talk to each other and play with them in that regard. I mean, I do have two of them now. Why wouldn't I try to play with both of them? All right, I've got my directions here, and I can start playing around the keyboard that I've not played around with at all yet. So let's get this turned on, see if it still turns on. Yeah, there we go. It's giving me the no video again. So let me fiddle with this connector. I'm probably gonna have to clean out each pin. Hey, there we go. So I just have to keep that clean, I guess. You know, you sit in a bag for almost 40 years and see if you work. Okay, if you do Control 8040, it'll turn off the backlight. So there is a backlight here. Let me turn off the lights. There it is in the dark. Now, I don't know if you can really pick this up on the camera, but it does look pretty nice in person. The texture is spot on with the original. The color is all the way through the same. There's no like light spots, dark spots, anything like that. So they really did a good job matching the color throughout. The keys all just feel great. The fact that my parts work is also another bonus. And this is just really nice. I really am happy with how this came out. It was worth the wait. I believe I'll definitely start using this more, mainly for the cost of the thing, but it is really, really nice. Now, if they start selling this on their web store, that'd be pretty awesome. I think it was just a Kickstarter. I'm not sure if they're going to sell the clear case or the black case or any case after that. I do know they still sell the keyboard on their web store. And if you do have a 2C that has a good case, but the keyboard's mushy, like this one, I would recommend looking into getting the keyboard, especially if you're going to use it. This thing, if it is just a bench queen and it just sits in the corner and never gets touched, collects dust, it's not worth it. If you're actually using it to play these old games, to revisit your childhood, I would say go ahead and get the new keyboard. It is definitely worth the upgrade. It is easy to install. It just pops out. You plug it into the floppy drive basically. It would take up your second floppy drive bus. I'm not sure if that makes it so that you can't plug in an external floppy. That might be an issue for some people, especially if you use like a floppy emu or something to that effect. Now, if you don't have a large collection of floppy disks like I do, first of all, why don't you? Second of all, you can use ADT Pro, not the home security suite, but Apple Disk Transfer Protocol. You could use that hooked up to a modern computer using pretty nifty cables that you can plug into your serial bus here and plug into a USB bus on your actual modern Windows 11 computer. And you can boot this thing if you have the newer firmware. If you have the original firmware like this one, you need a floppy disk with that on there to boot to it. But if you have the newer firmware like this one does, you can just bootstrap right to that and load any disk that you want onto here, and you're good to go. And that really makes it a game changer, where you can have the entirety of the Apple library on your desktop, on your computer, on your wherever laptop you got, laptop, desktop, whatever. You can have it there and just pick and choose whatever you want, boot this thing right up, and it immediately loads. It's pretty fast. You're still limited to the speed of this thing, but you can definitely get the files that you need over. You can save back in the reverse direction, so that is really handy. So if you did want to just type something in word processor or something to that effect, you could just save it and then dump it back onto your modern PC. So if you did want to use this nice modern keyboard, you could. So overall, I'm stoked. I'm super happy about this. and I believe I made the right choice in supporting this Kickstarter. The guys at MacEffects, they make a lot of great stuff. They make a lot of weird stuff that I'd question, is this needed? But the great thing about them is a lot of their stuff starts on Kickstarter. If it is needed and people want it, it usually makes it. If it doesn't have the following that they would hope, it doesn't make it. So that is a good business model for them. They don't put a lot of money into something and have it fail. They have their ideas, they put them out to the public gives their yay or nay, and it gets done. In this case, this is something that I believe needed to happen. I'm very happy with it. This is going to be something that will last another 30, 40 years on top of this one. So as long as you take care of your things, you make sure they stay clean, dry, and in a temperature controlled environment, they're going to last you a lifetime. And this is absolute proof of that. Who knows, the guy that bought this back when it was brand new in '83, it's so interesting to find out, if you could find out, the history this thing had, where it's been, what it's done. Was it just something that was bought and some kid played with it? Was it used in a business? And that's something that you'll never know, unfortunately. And if you do have this hobby and you do collect these computers, take care of them. Pass them down to your loved ones. Somebody, if you have kids, get them into the hobby if they will stick to it. Kids have their own minds. It's weird. It's like they're their own people. But overall, take care of your stuff. Love it. Use it. Don't let it just sit and rot away, because it will. And that's my PSA for the day. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you like the video here. I hope you like everything I'm doing. And if you have any comments, suggestions, what you would want to do with something like this, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for subscribing. I do have a Patreon. I am still working on it. That is my goal for this 4-day weekend that I have right now, is to get that completely set up and good to go. I have made some stickers already. You can see the one right here. These 2 stickers, I'm going to make more. But these are the first batch of stickers I did try to make on the Cricut machine. I call it Cricut, but it's a Cricut machine. I do like it. It's kind of neat. And yeah, I made some stickers. I'm going to make some more. I'm going to make bigger ones or different logos of different computer companies if they're not copyrighted. I don't know. I'm just going into this blind and seeing what sticks. But thank you, John Ops. You are still my one Patreon subscriber. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and comment down below. Thank you very much, and take care.